The AARAKOCRA range from the howling Gaia and endless storm of mighty winds and lashing rains that surrounds the tranquil realm of Aka in the elemental plane of air. Making aerial patrols, these bird-like humanoids guard the windy borders of their home against invaders from the elemental plane of earth, such as gargoyles, their sworn enemies.
You got all the fantasy staples, the dwarves, the elves, the orcs, and the Birdmen. I don't know how Lord of the Ring fucked that one up. I didn't see a single Birdman in the whole series. But luckily, we got you covered here with Dungeons & Dragons. Plenty of Birdman action coming your way, and I'm going to break down to you why these should be in your campaign. Why the AARAKOCRA should be something that you include in your campaign. Reason number 1. These guys are badass. They don't care about gold. They don't care about gems. They don't care about political borders or property ownership. If they have a mission and you're driving in your carriage, you're riding on your horse or on your carriage, AARAKOCRA rolls up. I'm here to commandeer your vehicle, sir. This is not yours. You don't own this. I need to go catch some elemental evil. There's a gargoyle in the distance. I gotta go fuck it up. So that's mine now. Enjoy the rest of your day. These guys have a mission, and they know what they want, and they're gonna get what they want. They are the sworn enemies of elemental evil. They are scouts that work for the Wind Dukes of Aka. They hunt down cults trying to summon forth elemental evil within their temples, or they engage it straight up if they feel like they can take the fight. Probably not, considering they are just a 1/4 CR creature. Not very strong, but they do come in great number, and they have one cool ability, the only cool ability that they have, that I'll talk about in a little bit. But let's explore the AARAKOCRA. Let's see what they're about first. What are the things that they're going to be doing within your world that will allow your players to maybe cross paths with them at some point? So the first thing they're doing, if there are temples of elemental evil, if there is elemental evil, elementals at all, these guys will care about it, especially if it's evil. And they'll go looking for it, and they'll look to kill it. So that's neat. What's the other thing that the AARAKOCRAs are doing? If they're not kicking cultists in the ass, they are searching for the Seven Shards. Now, legend has it that there was once a Queen of Chaos who arose to initiate an interplanar war with the Vati. The Vati are a race of elementals, the descendants of which are the Wind Dukes. So the Wind Dukes were born of the Vati, and now the AARAKOCRA work for the Wind Dukes as their foot soldiers. So what happened was that the Queen of Chaos arose, initiated interplanar war against the Vati and the many worlds that they controlled. So the Vati went into battle. Then up rolls Mishka, the wolf spider, as everyone knows, the general of the Queen of Chaos's armies. One of the Vati rams the rod right into her chest, cracks that shit off. It explodes inside of her chest. Shrapnel tears her to pieces. Unfortunately, the shrapnel was the rod itself, and now it is in 7 different pieces. Hell of an explosion, because those 7 parts got launched across the cosmos, and now they are scattered, and the Vati wish to once again find them. Who better to find the shards than the AARAKOCRA? Because they got wings, baby. They can fly. Probably so can elemental windlords, but elemental windlords are sitting in their wind palaces, making money. They don't got to do this stuff anymore. They're retired. The AARAKOCRA are on the ground. They're working for the Wind Dukes. The Wind Dukes don't want to do it. They get the AARAKOCRA to do it. Now it's their job to find the 7 shards. Boom. Plot hook, though, because now we've got a Dragon Ball Z situation on our hands. Now, you don't have to have your players searching for the Dragon Ball. The AARAKOCRA are passively doing that all the time. You have got a Dragon Ball Z scenario going on within your game, even if it's unbeknownst to the players. Because these AARAKOCRA are looking for that. That's a cool plot line if you want to have a group of players roll up AARAKOCRA. That doesn't matter how many. And they go in search of the Seven Shards to rebuild this rod. Maybe the Chaos Queen has once again risen, and now the AARAKOCRA need to put an end to it. So those are the two things. Those are the two things AARAKOCRA are doing in the world, is searching for these cults, searching for elemental evil, and trying to locate the Seven Shards to rebuild the Rod of Law, which is also referred to as the Rod of Seven Parts. An idea that I had to include the AARAKOCRA into a campaign in the future is to have them seeking a player character that uses elemental magic. No, it depends on your campaign, but elemental magic can be drawn. Magic itself can be drawn from various sources. And I know a lot of different people homebrew the sources of magic in different ways. Mine is different from yours. Doesn't really matter, but I thought it would be cool if in one of these cults that's trying to summon forth elemental evil, the elemental evil itself is leaking forth into the atmosphere. It's hard to contain, and through the magical elemental evil being released, one of the players is channeling it into their abilities. So if you have a Tempest Cleric, if you have a Storm Sorcerer, a Phoenix Sorcerer, even just a wizard casting a lot of elemental spells, it doesn't matter. You can flavor this toward their character to work. And the catch is that the elemental magic that they're drawing, what they're using to power their magic, unbeknownst to them, is elemental evil itself. They are drawing forth this evil elemental energy, and guess who gets pissed off? Guess who you're pissing off when you do that? You're pissing off the Wind Dukes, and the Wind Dukes are going to tell the AARAKOCRA to go and put an end to it. So now suddenly out of the blue, a bunch of AARAKOCRA float down from the heavens, and they're pissed off at your players, and they try to attack your sorcerer, they try to kill him, they try to capture him, take him prisoner, try to perform an exorcism to get rid of the elemental evil inside of him. I don't know. That's up to you. But it's a cool way to make them involved with your party, and these guys are men. These Birdmen have a mission. We know that. Let's go through the stat block. 12 AC, 13 hit points, so they're very squishy. They're going to die easily and quickly. They got 20-foot ground speed, 50-foot fly speed. That's their primary strength. If you're going to have them engage in combat, they got to know that they're squishy. They got to know they're going to get their ass beat if they let themselves get hit. So they're going to try to be evasive with their flying abilities. They don't have flyby, though, so they can't hit you and get away without provoking opportunity attacks, but they do carry javelins. But I guess they only have one, maybe two of those, and they'll throw their javelins from the sky to try to initiate some ranged combat. Other than that, they just hit you with their talons. They do have a dive attack. It only does an additional 1d6 damage if they drop at least 30 feet before hitting a target. So, not too impressive. These guys are not very threatening. All they really have as a racial gimmick is their higher perception ability. So what? You're gonna have a hard time ambushing them, I suppose. But they're pretty cool guys. So they're not like orcs. They're not gonna just attack you on sight. So you don't really have a great reason to have to sneak up on them anyways. But if you do, they got that passive perception 15, so it might not be too easy. Finally, though, the ability to summon air elementals. When 5 AARAKOCRA are within 30 feet of each other, they can magically summon an elemental if they spend 3 turns channeling, concentrating on a dance. And the rules are the same as concentration for a spell, so all 5 of them are dancing around, and all 5 need to complete the dance. If one of them gets shot down before the dance is over, that's it. No more bird dance, no more elemental. That's the end of it. They have to restart from scratch and get a 5th guy back in and joining them. So, I suppose you could do it with more than 5. Do it with 10. 5 of them get shot down, you're still good. You're still good to go. When all 5 finish their dance, the elemental will appear within 60 feet of them. It will obey their commands, and it will remain for 1 hour, unless all of its summoners die or it's dismissed as a bonus action. Now, the cool thing about the AARAKOCRA's ability to dismiss the elemental is that when it disappears, it will teleport with it any surrounding AARAKOCRA into the elemental plane of air. So once per short rest, they can summon an air elemental and then go back to the elemental plane of air with it. So it allows them this travel between planes. I'm not entirely sure how they get back to the plane of existence that they had traveled from, but that's their problem, not mine. I'd probably just let them do it. Like, I don't know. So if I was going to include the AARAKOCRA in a campaign, the plot hooks would probably involve them searching down cults. I think that's kind of the go-to. They're looking for cults around the world. You might find some dead cultists scattered about. You might find a cult encampment that's been just wiped out entirely. Most of the loot's still intact because the AARAKOCRA wouldn't have taken any of the loot. And it might raise some questions. It might just be a cool thing to come across, even if your players don't pursue it in any form or fashion. The AARAKOCRA might be engaged in a battle against gargoyles, because gargoyles are cool. We'll cover them later. And that they're mortal enemies. So a cool big war going on somewhere in the world between gargoyles and AARAKOCRA, this big aerial battle going on, that would be sick. I like the idea of that. I would definitely be into doing that. And maybe the players would care too. Maybe they would want to get involved, help them out in the battle. And I'll tell you what, if I had a battle with AARAKOCRA, a core element of the battle, something cool that would have to happen, is they would have to try to summon this air elemental. The gargoyles or whoever is trying to stop the ritual, you need to defend them while they summon the air elemental. When the air elemental finally is summoned, it is working in your favor, it turns the tides of battle, and it's this very cool moment that everyone gets to experience, where you've managed to protect these guys for long enough until this big turning of the tides takes place thanks to the air elemental. And it's a great, and these guys can introduce a really cool plot hook. If the players meet the AARAKOCRA and they have any interest whatsoever in the Seven Shards, and they wish to help the AARAKOCRA rebuild the Rod of Seven Parts, previously the Rod of Law, that's a whole adventure. That's what I talked to you. I said that earlier. You got a Dragon Ball Z situation on your hands. Everyone, you can't go wrong with that. You just can't go wrong with the Dragon Ball Z plot hook. And these guys introduce it, so boom. First monster that we've covered, we've already got Dragon Ball Z included. I'd say that's killer, especially for a CR1/4 creature. While the creature itself isn't that interesting, the lore it brings to the world and how it exists within the world, I think that's pretty cool. And I think that you should too, and you should put some AARAKOCRA in your game. Have them somewhere. Even if your players never meet them, it's cool to have them somewhere. Overall, I'm gonna give these AARAKOCRAs a rating of, if I gotta go 0 to 10 on the creature itself, and I'm gonna try to rate them fairly. So as a CR1/4 creature, I'm gonna rate it. I'm not gonna rate it against a Tarrasque, because then it's not fair. As a CR1/4 creature, I give these guys an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Thematically, they're cool. Mechanically, they're more interesting than some other CR1/4 creatures. They're still boring, but they have some interesting stuff going on compared to other creatures of the same CR. So a solid 8 toads out of 10. And how about one of those little helmets with the wings on it that the Birdmen like to usually wear in the cartoons? You know which ones I'm talking about. Also, a shout out to Harvey Birdman, shout out to Birdman the rapper, and shout out to the movie Birdman. Excellent film, check it out. Hit that sub button if you want to catch the next installment. We'll be covering aboleths, which are cool as hell, and we're going to go A to Z for every monster, not just in the monster manual, also in Volo's Guide to Monsters. We might even go a little bit beyond that and do some fan-made monsters in the near future. So, join me on this journey. I'll catch you guys next time for aboleths.
AARAKOCRA. Fuck. Birds, fucking birds.